Notice to the public. If you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words and actions. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Terrebonne Parish Public Services Committee of March 21st, 2022, 5:30 p.m. I will be doing the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight and we ask for your wisdom and your guidance on the issues of the parish, Lord. Help us to make the right decisions so that it benefits all the people of the parish, Lord. Lord, we ask again for your safety and your peace over the citizens of this parish. We ask that your blessings and your favor follow them every day of their lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Hampton, may we have a roll call, please?
Sir, Mr. Trosclair?
Here.
Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding?
Here.
Michelle?
Here.
Here.
Domey?
Here.
Here.
Mr. Babin? Mr. Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, sir. Item 1, discussion and update from the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness relative to COVID-19 and any other pertinent public information. Mr. Hughes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in the council. Earl Hughes, Director, Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness, 101 Government Street, Gray. Under the COVID report, total number of cases today within Terrebonne Parish since this has started, 30,797. Number of cases last week was 24, which is about 3 cases per day. And the number of cases 2 weeks ago, we had 55, which was about 8 cases per day. So, so just for informational purposes, we had 2 cases today. That includes over the weekend. So, and then Friday we had 1 case. So the numbers are substantially down than what we're used to. Number of reinfections, today we had 1, but last week there were 0. 2 weeks ago there were 6 reinfections, so that number has decreased also. There were no deaths last week, but 2 weeks ago we had 3 deaths. We're at 335 deaths for the total since 2020. Just this year we have, in 2022, we got 34 deaths. 2021 was 159, and 2020 was 142 deaths. Number of tests today, we're up to 30,797. Last week there were 990 tests for the week, and then 2 weeks ago there was 1,400 tests. So that some of the testing numbers are going down also. What's happening right now? We have a lot of flu cases going throughout the parish. So when you go to the doctor to get a flu test, they're also testing you for COVID. So as the flu case go up, we'll get more testing for COVID also, just to make sure that they don't have COVID and it's just a flu. The percent positivity today is at 3.4%. Last week it was at 2.5, so we had a slight increase, but 2 weeks ago it was at 6.1%, so we're more than 50% below that number. Hospitalizations are going down also. Today we had 2. Last week we averaged about 3 per day. 2 weeks ago we averaged 6 per day. So that number's also going down. 73% of those hospitalized are not vaccinated at this time. And then the percent vaccinated in Terrebonne Parish is still low. It's at 43.36%. It's up 0.12% from last week. So, last week we had 134 people get vaccinated. 2 weeks ago we had 424. So not only are the cases going down, but so are the vaccinations, people getting their vaccinations for that. Anything further on COVID?
No,
Okay.
sir.
I'll go on to a little FEMA report. Like I stated the last meeting, we still have a large cadre of FEMA personnel in the area, continuing to work on cases and try to find people additional housing. There is the transitional sheltering assistance is coming to an end for some people. And then there's others that that's coming to an end, but they're gonna probably be issued an extension so that they can find a place for them, whether it's temporary housing outside of the state, outside of the parish or outside of the city of Houma, or they'll continue to stay in a hotel. As you all know, we still have limited hotel rooms in the parish. So as far as getting transitional sheltering in the hotels here is very difficult. Ms. Sherry Lina with the Council on Aging has been working with the people at Bayou Towers, making sure that they know what they need to do, how to appeal if they were denied an extension on their transitional sheltering assistance. And they're also trying to push them into either a modular home unit or a travel trailer at a group site. The state of Louisiana is not going to build any more group sites. They are going to continue to wait on FEMA to finish up the group sites. We'll have one open at the end of this month, and then a larger group site is planned on Park Avenue. It's probably a little more than 200 trailers. Will be completed sometime probably by the end of May, beginning of June on that group site. So we have about 700 people on the list that are still requesting additional housing. Most of these people are currently living with a relative or a friend, but they would like to get away from their relative or their friend, not because they don't like them, but they tired of inconveniencing other people. So they're pushing hard to try to get the rest of those 700 people into some type of travel trailer or mobile unit. Chris will have the numbers of what we have out there, but I just wanted to address that. Those people that were on transitional sheltering assistance are getting case management, and those that are ending, their TSA will be ending and they don't have a place to go. FEMA is working with them to extend their TSA. Any questions on the TSA FEMA issues?
Mr. Harding, I see it's light, but it's not working up there.
Yeah, of course. Generally, I'll be asking these questions to Chris, and it's, I guess I have the misfortune, or you have the misfortune to actually be in the position where you brought up the FEMA. And then generally, and as I stated before, sometimes these people that are out there that's displaced, when we're reading these numbers off, it sounds like the stock market, and I don't know nothing about the stock market. But then one thing that goes and resonates in my mind is right now we have 700 people that are still looking for somewhere. There's 700 people that's actually living with someone else. Then we also stated that, that we have these people that were in the high rise. And these extensions, and I spoke with Ms. Kellingham. I just recently spoke with the parish president in reference to us working on those people that are specifically that have been housed in the high rise. And so we are in a position right now that, because not basically any fault of ours, but then we put it out there because that those are citizens of Terrebonne Parish. And with those citizens of Terrebonne Parish, I've always been an advocate for those people that are to retain those people to Terrebonne Parish. So means that Bayou Towers has been setting in my district, and basically those are physically challenged people or the elderly people, that some of these people are elderly living with another elderly person in the high-rise married couple, or they are individuals that are elderly and that have medical conditions, they have physical conditions. So to displace this person, when you say outside Terrebonne Parish, that means whether it's in, in Lafourche Parish or in Houston. And my thoughts is how we as a council, how we as a parish, and how we as representatives that are supporting these past, present, and future taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish, how are we going to assist them? I don't see those numbers adding up at this moment for those people that are displaced we came with the people that would feed folk, and he's given me, and he gave us a number, about 2,000 people that are homeless. We have a 700 that's seeking shelter. I have a person in the audience that his brother with these trailers, and hopefully we can get that with Chris, that these trailers having problems because a lot of those folks have oxygen. And they have oxygen tanks, and we have propane that's with these trailers. And we need to find out some way to transfer this propane to these propane trailers to electrical trailers, where these people that's using oxygen can actually have a better place while their residency could be determined and their residence can be actually repaired. Hopefully you're following me with this. So with that being said, we have a bigger issue other than numbers. We have an unknown number out there that I think that we need to find out who, what, when, and where they are. You know, that is a number. It is a serious issue because when the high rise is spoke of, I look at physically challenged people and the elderly having to move out where they've been born and raised and live all their lives, and we can't take care of them.
I understand, Mr. Harding. FEMA's doing what they can do as quickly as possible, and like I said, all of these people have been given a social worker to help them with their issues. So, you know, you're familiar as well as I am. They just don't have any housing here, okay? And anything that we're going to bring in is going to have to be brought in by FEMA. And it's unfortunately, it's a slow process, and there's a lot of bureaucracy in it. And every day, Chris and I are fighting to get more housing here through FEMA.
And I appreciate it, and I want to know and let the people know that we have compassion and we're working for them, but it is an issue that, you know what I mean, other than some other circumstances that others may think, and that's very important to me because, you know what I mean, it's unfortunate because I don't get numbers. I get phone calls from people.
Well, and, you know as well as I know, if Bayou Towers is going to be rebuilt, you're looking at 2 to 3 years. If it's demolished, we're looking at longer term than that to find a place to put people. Mm-hmm. So this isn't a short term recovery as far as the Bayou Towers goes. This is a long term issue that people are going to have to make a decision.
Right. Thank you for giving me the information and the public the information.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Michel.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, there are no more GO-STEP resources as far as temporary housing is concerned?
GO-STEP on the what they call the Louisiana IDA sheltering program. They are still issuing trailers to those that have owned their own property. And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are no more group sites like they have at Rebecca Plantation. We have 237 trailers there. They're not going to expand that, and they are not looking for additional acreage to put another 237, a large group site. They're referring all that to FEMA now to build those group sites.
Okay, and right now we have several apartment complexes, some of them Section 8, some of them not Section 8, that are empty because they're being repaired. It would seem that at some point those are going to become available, and it's going to kind of open it up a bit. So that's an opportunity. But also, we're using this number 700. I'm sure there's a lot of people who's fallen through the cracks. Who do we contact if we have a call from somebody who's asking, and we're not sure if they're in that number or not? Do we call that 800 number, the 877 number, or who do we contact?
They can still call the IDA sheltering 800 number, and they can also call the FEMA disaster assistance number to see where they're at. Okay, as far as their case goes, on whether or not when they're gonna get a trailer.
Okay, all right, and one last comment. I sure hope and I pray that that COVID is vastly behind us, And with that being said, I want to thank you for everything you've done to help keep us informed and keep us on our toes and doing our best and giving us the best resources possible to help the public as we went through this nightmare of a 2-year period. So thank you so much, sir.
I appreciate that, and our office has some great people, and a lot of people in the parish have worked hard to make sure that people were informed and knew where to go get vaccinations and tests and all of that. So I appreciate all the help that the parish workers have done for us also.
Mr. Harding?
Yeah, therefore, one more statement. Those people that were in high rise, and it's my knowledge that I learned today that their vouchers that they received would be the strong possibility that they would be renewed. And the conversation that I was in, it was only speaking of those folk. So it's possible that those other folk that don't fall within that particular category may be kind of in a pickle a little bit.
So in that case, Mr. Harding, if they were denied an extension on their transitional sheltering assistance, they can follow an appeal with FEMA, okay, and FEMA will relook at what their situation is. It's going to come a day when there won't be any FEMA housing available. Okay, FEMA's going to, and I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I think these travel trailers, we've seen them in places for up to 2 years. But after that 2 years, people have had this time to make a decision to do what they needed to do and make any repairs or, how to move on with their life. FEMA's going to come back and say, hey guys, the trailer program is over. You have X amount of days to move out the trailer. So I keep want to remind people that they need to try to find their resources and reach out to I'm going to call them non-governmental organizations, because that's who's going to have to help these people to move forward after this storm. So,
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, Earl, I just noticed we got the press release. Dirk and I were talking about this earlier, about the weather, the impending weather tomorrow and opening the auditorium, if you'd like to mention that on the air right now.
Sure. So due that we have so many people living in travel trailers and mobile home units or modular home units, we felt like it was reasonable to make sure these people have a place to go if they don't feel safe staying in those trailers. So we're going to open up the Houma Municipal Auditorium tomorrow from 10 a.m. Until the storm passes, and it's safe for people to return back to their trailers. It will not be open overnight. People that use the shelter need to bring their own food, snacks, and any bedding, because it's just a place to shelter you while the storm's passing through. So we tried to get some shelters open in the lower sections of the parish, but all of those gyms are damaged, and they were concerned that if they do get some strong winds, even if it's not a tornado, that there may be some more damage to those buildings, and they didn't feel safe to put people in. So if the Recreation Department says they don't feel safe, I don't think it's a good idea that we use the building. And so that's why we don't have anything on the lower end of the parish. So thank you.
Mr. Navy?
Yes, Earl, you just made a statement just now that I'm a little concerned about, but I just want to ask a question about that. You said that it's time in the next couple of years for the people that actually are not have affordable housing right now to look for housing, have a plan, and non-government entities to assist with that. But let's redirect that. We're supposed to be, from my understanding, getting these hundreds of millions of dollars in Terrebonne Parish. And I guess my question would be to the parish government and its council, what are the plans to build more housing to assist these people? Not just the elderly, but all the people that actually are displaced. So I'm kind of see what kind of equitable situation that we have, that we can say that government, I'm not talking about 50 or 75 units or somewhere. Can we put something larger if we get that kind of money? Because to me, that money should be assisting those people too, with housing. So what kind of plan that we actually have in place for that? And I know where we're about to go. I don't want to hear that thing that I'm about to think I'm going to get me upset about Parkwood Place and all that crap. But what kind of plan that we actually have, unilateral, across the parish to say we're going to put housing here, housing there, does assist these people that's really displaced? I mean, what kind of plan we got?
Well, on our aspect, Chris and I, we have been meeting with FEMA on long-term recovery, on things that need to be done and taking place. Now, how much money we get, I don't know what that is. I don't think administration either knows what that amount's going to be. But I'm sure when the time comes, the administration is going to take a look at that and see how those funds can be used.
But my question is, and I understand that, we can't be behind an 8 ball all the time. What kind of can we at least come up with some kind of comprehensive plan to say if we get X amount of dollars, this is what we want to do across the parish? See, we're always planning after the fact. I'm trying to say what we can actually do now to come up with a plan that would include excessive housing throughout Terrebonne Parish if we're getting hundreds of millions of dollars. And Chris, let me tell you something. You got a tough job. You really do. Because I don't understand how many hats you wear, but you wear a lot of hats. I know you need to put your lights on, but you wear a lot of hats, brother. But at the end of the day, I still think we need to come up with a plan. I mean, I'm tired of saying, okay, if we get this, if we get that, but what we gonna do now to say when we get it, this is what we want to do? If that make any sense?
So we do have a plan. The plan that we have in place is in the form of our hazard mitigation plan. I mean, we update that every few years. We just did one last year. I think what we're looking at, and well, let me stay on that for a sec. And that hazard mitigation plan, as far as housing goes, I mean, I think a good example of that plan in action is the housing reconstruction program that we're developing. Okay, this storm was a wind event. So flood events, everybody's talking elevation, and we do have some elevation programs in place, and we're going to still develop more coming out of this storm. But our primary focus is on reconstruction, because that I think for most people that's the biggest issue that they're facing, and elevation would be part of that reconstruction if they're below the base flood elevation. That's what the $17.68 million that we're getting in hazard mitigation money, and then subsequent funding from that same source would go more towards housing, right, until that side of it's done. But I think the plan that you're talking about, I mean, the hazard mitigation plan that we had in place, I mean, Ida was just such a massive storm. I think later on tonight on another agenda is an approval of a consultant to help with CDBG dollars, and that they went through a procurement for that to figure out how to spend that money. That's what you're talking about, is that plan will be developed in that, under that project,
Okay.
or under that scope.
So we still not clear. We playing with figures that we really don't know. Is what you're saying? Number one.
As far as the CDBG and some of those other bigger funding streams go, yes.
Okay, so my thing is that I just think we just need to still design something comprehensive, because like you just said, there was a massive storm that really created a lot of damage in Terrebonne Parish, but the damage was infrastructure, a lot of, housing and things of that nature. So I think we need to really concentrate on that and try to say, look, what could we do? Where could we do it at? That's the thing that I think we need to identify. And I agree with you what you just said, but I just want to make sure, because nothing is being told to, as far as I'm concerned, what the plan is. And that's why I was asking that question.
Well, I mean, certainly once we get that consultant moving forward, and it's going to be one of those planning efforts that's going to need input and involvement from lots of different people and lots of different departments, agencies. I mean, you're talking about everything, infrastructure. You've got everything from community sewer to power, and then housing, of course, is going to be on the top of everybody's list.
There you go.
So,
I appreciate that. All right. Just want to make it clear. Thank you, man.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Dove wants to address that issue.
Yes, and John, and also to answer what you said, the only money that we're really receiving right now is this, like you said, the $17 million, which is being directed towards repairing the homes and or lifting the homes up to $150,000 grant. Am I correct?
That's correct.
It's $150,000 that's available that's available. That's the only money we've gotten so far. All the rest is a wish list, and of course we're moving forward with it. But there is $17 million, and it is up to $150,000, and that's strictly housing. That's to lift the home or to repair your existing home. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Hughes, thank you again for coming, as you always do, and we really appreciate all the information that you send out to us every day, because that really helps us in answering questions to our constituents.
Thank y'all.
Before we move on to the next item, I just want to recognize a couple of people sitting in the audience tonight. We have our Terrebonne Parish School Board President, Mr. Greg Harding, with us. Welcome, sir. We also have with us former Councilman Mr. Wayne Thibodeau, and current Planning and Zoning Commissioner, so he's still serving the community. And I also saw Mr. Jerome Boykin, the Director of the NAACP. Thank you for being here tonight as well. Item 2, discussion regarding the status of repairs at the Melvin Johnson Jr. Splash Park.
Don't forget Alvin Tillman.
Mr. Alvin Tillman? Oh, yeah. Man, I'm sorry, guys, but with them masks. So former Councilman, Mr. Alvin Tillman, and one day we'll be able to take them things off and be able to see everybody's faces. Mr. Navy.
I didn't recognize Mr. Tillman myself. I didn't know that was him, to be honest with you. No, actually, I got the courtesy call from Mr. Harding today, Greg Harding, and he explained the situation to me, and that park is going to be have some things that they need to do, and that park will be open for the summertime. So I don't want to necessarily, unless he wanted to make some statements about it, but Mr. Harding, I appreciate you contacting me, explaining that to me. I would have never known if you wouldn't have contacted me. So thank you, sir, for that call today. But I want to take that off agenda, that item.
All right.
Thank you.
So the park will be open for the summertime. Good news. Item 3, resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 1 for the construction agreement for parish project number 02-WALK-38, state project number 012026, Bayou Terrebonne East Side Sidewalk Project Phase 2.
So move.
Move Mr. Dirk Guidry. Second, Mr. Darren Guidry. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 1 for the construction agreement for the state project number 012338, Civic Center Sidewalks. Move Mr. Darren Guidry. Second, Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 2 for the construction agreement for parish project number 15-BLDG-62, FP&C number 50-J55-14-01, Le Petit Theater, the Terrebonne Renovations, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. It's moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. Seeing no one light, Mr. Michel.
If I'm reading this correctly, it looks like that this is for the addition of new seating. Is that correct?
That's what the backup says.
For my life, I can't figure out why this wasn't included originally, but this is a good thing. Thank you.
I think it was just an oversight that came up, and Mr. Dove pushed it forward. So thank you for that. Seeing no more discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion adjourned, Mr. Darren Guidry. Second, Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Notice to the public. If you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either side of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others and their choice of words and action. All cell phone, pages, and electrical devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. We are going to call to order the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. I will do the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we ask that the blessings be bestowed upon the hearts of the people of Terrebonne Parish. Asking, O God, that those widows, orphans, and those that are downtrodden, those that are in need, O God, that the affairs that we have an opportunity to have the hand to actually place their sovereignty within our hearts, O God, that we can do the work of this parish, that we can go forward and have a full understanding that we will be blessed in our darling Son, Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Hampton, give us a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Trosclair? Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding?
Here.
Mr. Michel? Mr. Amade? Mrs. Domain? Mr. Darren Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Babin? Mr. Dirk Guidry? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, sir. Item number 1, resolution declaring vehicle, computers, laptops, and miscellaneous equipment from various departments and divisions having a value of less than $5,000 as surplus, authorizing said items to be disposed of by any legal approved method. Moved by Mr. Guidry, second by Ms. Domain. In the discussion, all in favor? Aye. Motion passed. Item number 2, resolution concerning the parish administration to award bid 22-WHSE-04 purchase of new used transformers and wires to Irby Utilities. Moved by Mr. Guidry, second by Mr. Amade. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. At this time, because of so many questions, then I want to actually present, I'd like to turn this over to the Vice Chairman, and we can move forward with item number 3, and I'll return after item 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 3, resolution concurring with the parish administration to award the request for proposal number 22-RFP-03 to provide grant management, project management, and administrative services for HUD, Fema, and other federally funded programs, and authorizing the parish president to execute the contract and to provide for related matters. Mr. Trosclair moves on it. Ms. Domain seconds. Mr. Harding?
Yes, I have discussion with it, and after the discussion, perhaps within the discussion, we can have an opportunity to recognize Mr. Navy after I'm here. But there's some circumstances about this particular item. This particular item, I've been contacted by a number of people, and there are a number of questions I can't, as a council person, answer. And it's not so much that I think that in speaking to individual council members without any violations of any orders or rules and regulations, just actually trying to get an understanding of what my position is as a council person and budget and finance chairman. So with those questions that I cannot answer, right now, maybe I'll put on another light and have further discussion to the matter and yield the lights as we go on.
Okay, Mr. Navy?
Well, actually, I was hoping that we can, there was some information I requested also too, but I was hoping that we can at least table this for 2 weeks, table this matter for 2 weeks so we can look at the information that we was asking for. At the extension of that, I think that would be well finally get some clarity on some things that we're looking at. Because like I said, that was some stuff I asked for, some information that I asked for also. So if we can table this for 2 weeks, where I can try to get that information, I'll be more than happy to revisit this item if I can get a
So-
motion to.
Mr. Navy, are you making a motion to defer for 2 weeks?
Yes, sir. Well, I thought Mr. Harding was going to do that, but yes, sir.
All right, so we have a substitute motion to defer, seconded by Mr. Harding. I still have some discussion. Mr. Michel?
If we're gonna vote on that motion, then I'm good with that. I don't need to discuss right now.
Okay, I do have 2 speaker cards from the public. First, I would like to ask Mr. Kevin Thompson up to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good afternoon, President Dove and honorable council members. My name is Kevin Thompson. My address is 7921 Park Avenue. I'm an attorney. We have looked at this matter, and on behalf of the NAACP, we believe that justice and economic development would be served by at least allowing minorities, small businesses, and women to have an opportunity to participate in the money that's going to be coming down from the federal government with the infrastructure program and what have you. I believe Terrebonne Parish is going to get a good chunk of that money. So we just want to make sure that we are included. As Mr. Navy so admirably stated, there's some things that's missing that we don't have that we would like to have, not just on behalf of the NAACP, but on behalf of other minority women and small businesses, other ethnic groups that we would like to have. So I would agree with Mr. Navy if we can table this so we can get the proper information so we can move forward. I'd be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Mr. Michel, you have any questions for Mr. Thompson, or are you second? Okay, Mr. Thompson, thank you, sir. It looks like everybody's content with what you had to say.
Okay, thank you.
My second speaker card is Mr. Clarence Williams. Mr. Williams, please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Clarence Williams, 2903 Highway 311, Shreva. Our principal was going to ask the same question, make the same statements that Kevin made. However, taking a step further, when will the specs be drafted, and who will they be drafted by? The specs for the elements of work.
Mr. Hebert?
As I understand it, there's been a request for a quote that was already done, and the specs were done by a request for proposal. I believe Ms. Malden was she's one of them here, so she could tell us, but I'm almost sure it's already been done. In other words, the specs were done, they were replied to. We're under, and we have to limit this discussion because some of this is confidential, some of it is possibly legal. But when we do these requests for quotes, we do them according to our procurement manual. There's a manual that they follow, and there are steps for people who do not comply, okay, who think they have the right to protest and to follow. So I would be very cautious in putting staff in what's being discussed in case I noticed that there were 2 people who were disqualified for failure to provide the appropriate documentation. And of course, they have their steps, they have their rights to protest. But one of the things we have to do on these programs is stay consistent the way we handle them. And the rule of law on that is, are you arbitrary and capricious, and how have you followed it? So with that caveat, I'm listening very closely to what's being said, but the proposal, Candace can articulate more than that, but that's already been put out. So, I mean, this was all drafted, remember, We're trying to move these things. People want services, they want repairs, they want things done, so the stuff's being moved, and they evaluate it. It went to her committee.
I was referencing the contract specs, okay? And the reason why I'm referencing the contract specs is because I think some of the conditions that are probably set out by the federal government probably need to go into the contract specs as we draft them and or design them. So that's, yes.
The contract will be, once it is awarded, then the contract will be drafted in accordance with the specifications in the proposal.
In accordance with what?
In other words, Mr. Williams, once this is awarded, what they do is you send out a proposal.
Yeah.
For a quote, you list everything that you want.
I understand that.
Okay, then it goes to a committee and they evaluate it. The committee has voted on it and evaluated it. Now it's at the stage to recommend to award a contract. Now a contract will be drafted in accordance with with that proposal.
Mr. Hebert, let me be a little more explicit. Historically, minorities, inclusive of women, have had a very, very limited shot at participating in most activities that is of an economic nature in this parish. I'm concerned that when the specs are drafted, we do not specify in the specs, we do not address that particular concern and that particular issue. Given the fact that these are federal resources, we think that, there's some support, okay, to really market, do special, nothing unreasonable, but do special things to make sure that there's inclusion. So my main focus is about inclusion, okay? And so the detail of the specs, the inclusion should be detailed in the specs as they're written by whomever. Even the efforts that the parish could or should take to encourage or enhance participation should be evident as well.
Is that all, Mr. Williams?
I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'm going to take a liberty of a question to Mr. Hebert. Because this is federal money, the contract has to address DBEs, correct?
Yes.
So I think that may be what Mr. Williams was referring to make sure that the DBE is in there and given a fair shake. Okay, just so I understood Mr. Williams' question, right? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hebert. Mr. Michel.
Thank you. I don't know what happened to the rest of the council people, but, my concern with this whole thing is that in the backup and in the information that we had, nowhere did it explain how much we were spending on this or what method of determining how much, because I don't think that it can be determined at this point because we don't know how much money is coming in, okay? But I do know a couple of weeks ago, it was brought up by a council person that would do some sort of a local committee, a blue ribbon committee or something like that, some sort of task force or something like that. I don't know why that was dismissed because that could certainly include minorities and women and Native Americans and maybe even some people from the Chamber of Commerce who are so visibly absent today. But this is something that the community could be involved in. The people who live in these areas could assist in determining what happens with these funds. If it is a large amount of money, like it seems like many people are expecting, we have a tremendous opportunity. And I don't know that getting people from outside is the best choice. That's just my opinion on that. And certainly, I think the specs should have been disclosed. And I think that the council, and maybe they did, and I just didn't see it or whatever, but the council should have been more involved in what we were doing to proceed with getting a consultant, especially when we don't even know how much we're planning on paying said consultants. So that's my point, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Harding?
Yes, and actually, you know, I mean, I had an idea of 30 days, and really after those 30 days, to assess the situation and properly have an understanding of the process also. So even if we don't have the understanding of the process and we accepting what we actually have, this proposal here. Now, to something that was said previously, when I stated that, and I'll come back later on, and I understand that may be some liabilities in reference to the two people that was discarded in this process. Let me make this perfectly clear. That's on them. My issue is for us to know right now, in the future, whether it be this administration, whether the money comes in later on down the line, I want to make sure that the people of Terrebonne Parish and the people that they are elected to represent them can actually take care of their communities and have a word in it, whether it be a committee or it don't be a committee, but we want to see. And if Ms. Candace can say she can do it in 2 weeks, or she need 30 days to do that, which is, I think that we can actually get these people together to find out within us what we want and what should be done. Because right now, I don't have an idea. I don't have a clue. And a lot of these people that I represent, some of the ministers I see that's in the presence here, they represent a lot of people that has been displaced. And we want to make sure, and it's not about kicking nobody out. That's not what I'm here. I'm making sure the people is being taken care of. Now, if there's any other legal matters that happened, the court and the good Lord are going to take care of that. But right now, we're talking about the people being informed. And I'm not trying to stop nobody from making nothing. And I want the parish to be recovered just as much as anybody else. But then in doing so, then where are we going to be? I think the statement was made is the fact that we won't be ahead. We don't want to be behind the 8 ball. We won't be in front of the 8 ball. So if we get caught like we just got caught trying to find places for people to live, and I've been preaching that song for the last 4 months. And we're in a predicament right now that you're not listening to the people that's up here. So if you can't listen to me and the people that's talking to me, I'm up here representing my people, point blank, period. And the best interest, not just my people, for everybody in Terrebonne Parish. That's what I'm doing. There's a lot of people out there, they might accept this, and it's just to see it the way it is, but if we make a mistake with this, guess what? Some people ain't gonna get no phone call. I'm gonna get that phone call. I've already got them. And I want it to be heard loud and clear here. I'm not about throwing nobody away. I'm about the fairness, the equity, and it was mentioned here. And I'm gonna say this one more time. We need to put on that motion. And I guess I can make a substitute to the substitute motion. That this would be tabled for 30 days.
Just amend your substitute motion.
He made it.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't do that. He can pull his motion,
Okay. Mr. Navy?
He could add it for 30 days.
or John can add it.
No, they have to rewrite the contract. All depends on that contract, whether they
Mr.
accept.
Navy?
Right, 30 minutes, 30 days, we got.
So Mr. Navy amends. So you pull the original
Second.
motion, making a
Second.
substitute motion to defer for 30 days, seconded by Mr. Harding. We still have some lights. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you. I guess this question is going to be for Candace. Candace, the federal procurement procedure that we follow on this, is that written by the parish or written by federal government?
It would be written by the federal government, and then if there's any policies that we have in place in our purchasing manual would also be included in it.
Okay. Was this procurement procedure followed by the 3 companies that were scored? well, my question, not what they follow, were all 5 of the management companies that submitted to the parish, were they all given the same packet with the same request
sir.
for information?
Yes, sir. So just to go back a little bit, we put out the request for qualification. Within that request for qualification, it had items specifically listed. You must submit 4 hard copies. You must submit it by this time. You must do this. It also had the evaluation criteria and how many points each of those criteria are. And those criteria are actually listed in the backup in that score sheet. So you can see what the committee went through each of the submittals and determined based on the criteria and the score that they could possibly earn, which one had the highest score. And that is why this is here. This is to help us when we know what money we're going to get from HUD or CDBG. This consultant is going to be the one that helps us put an application together. That's going to help us with the reporting requirements after the money has come in and the application is accepted. They're going to be the ones that help us go out to the community, determine, if there's any public hearings that need to be had to determine what is needed, what is not needed. That is the purpose of this. Whoever receives this RFQ is to help with that CDBG money. And the purpose of putting it in now is, like Mr. Navy mentioned earlier, we want to have it ready. So when we know how much we are allocated, we can move forward and we'll have somebody in place that knows exactly what needs to be done.
And that's my position. I don't want to delay being able to move forward 30 days or 2 weeks or 2 days. I want to be ready the day they say we got it, I want to be ready to go. And if all 5 of these management companies were given the exact same requirements and the exact same requests for information, and 2 of them either ignored it or missed it or intentionally or unintentionally didn't submit what they need to, that's not our problem, that's theirs. That's either, and I'm not in favor of holding this over. I think we need to move with it and be ready so that when we have the funds available, that we can start moving forward with getting people back in their houses and getting things going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trosclair. Mr. Navy?
This is my last time, but Candace, you made a good comment, and plus Steve said something too that's interesting. You said that the federal guidelines that we followed with the procurement process with the material that came from the federal government, the requirements that came from the federal government, right? But then you said something that if we have something, we interject our process into the existing procurement process, right?
Right, but we can't.
Supersede the.
Exactly.
But my question is this, and it may be a hard question, but my question is this: the process of elimination that comes from the federal government, or the process of what we put in place?
The process of how you evaluate a RFQ is put in place by the federal government procurement guidelines.
Okay, but what part of the process that we play into the local government parish?
I don't think there was anything different in this case that would have been any different than what the federal guidelines are.
Okay, because you made that comment, so that's why I was
correct. And so there are some instances not with RFQs and RFPs for qualifications. There are some instances with bid law purchases that our numbers are a little bit more stringent than what federal guidelines would be. Okay. So that's why I made that comment, but it doesn't apply for RFQs.
For this particular process.
Correct.
Okay, I want to make some clarity to that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navy. Mr. Dove?
Yes, and I understand what everyone is talking about, but Candace, we've already hired 2 or 3 consultants on since the hurricane. 2 or 3 that helps you paperwork and everything.
We have 2 that are specifically helping us with FEMA and insurance claims.
Correct. And then we have 1 lobbyist, Mary Landrew, and her lobbyist firm, which is working on everything from helping y'all with the paperwork to the political end and making sure that we get to Washington and get our monies.
And we also have 1 consultant, Desireline, that's helping us with the damage assessment for Chris's part of all of this.
Okay, so we have 3 consultants that was already approved by this council.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this was put out for advertisement.
Yes, sir.
As per federal guidelines.
Yes, sir.
This was awarded by This was recommended by 4 people: Jennifer Jaboski, Mort Black, Candace Malden, and Sharon Ellis, which is the new purchasing agent that, what's it new? She replaced.
She was promoted to the parish purchasing manager.
Yes, okay. And they've all signed off on this. This will not change no matter, and it might be a Jews ABAC question. If we try to go back out for bids and award this to someone else, we will be sued because this is now a matter of public record. And we will lose. And this company, what is it, CSRS, will win because they legitimately won it by this procurement, these 4 procurement people. So look, you know, and remember this. This is to go get the money. Colleen, this is to go, as you know, this is to go get the money. There are engineers going to be hired after this. There's many, many contractors are going to be hired for this. We've got the contractors have to follow federal guidelines on hiring of minorities and women and what have you. So this is just the very tip of it. This is not the engineering. This is not the contractors. There will be numerous. I mean, look, we're going after, we're thinking of numbers as big as $500 million or more that is going to be spread throughout this parish. Now, if this council has every right in the world to delay it, and I respect that, but my job is to go out and get the money as quick as possible. We want to move as quick as possible, and we want to be first in line. And the quicker you get in, the quicker you get your money, the quicker we move on. And we've been working on this. And like I said, I respect anything the council wants to do, but this is not the work itself. There's numerous contracts coming out of this, along with numerous engineering that everyone will have an opportunity to bid. And, probably one of the biggest things is to get the word out. And then contractors, they have to get performance bonds. That's what stops a lot of contractors because, as most people in here know, you have to have a performance bond when you award contracts. And so that knocks a lot of companies out from bidding public work. So, like I said, I respect whatever this council does, but we cannot veer off of this or we will be sued and we will lose because this is now a matter of public record, and these people, CSRS, I do not know them. Where are they out of, Candace? I know I was told that. Baton Rouge. And they were recommended it, and so with that, the administration's point of view is to get out there and get the money as quick as possible. But whatever this council decides, I respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. Mr. Harding?
Time's a charm, I guess. And thank you, Mr. Dove. And I thank not only the people that are sitting up here, the people in the audience and people who are listening. We've asked some questions that we didn't have any answers to, and now we have the answers to. So there may be some other answers. And I'm going to say this again. The process in reference to the legality of it and getting sued, that's not my position. That is not my position. Some of these transparent things that we may have wanted to know, and some of these things that we found out tonight, that's the reason for this. What are we going to do going forward? So if one important question I would like to ask you, if we hire this firm without a blue ribbon committee, without any participation from any town halls that we actually have, the question would be posed perhaps to you, Ms. Candace, because you seem to be the one that's in the center of this right now. What changes of this proposal or the company that we actually having, or what responsibility or control, I hate to use the word control, what opportunities that we would have as a council to work with this company that has won legitimately this particular proposal at the time. So the input that we would be able to have with this proposal, or these people that received the proposal, I think that is the concern of the people, to be more transparent, to go out, and we want to address the issue, because once they accept it, they say about some politicians, once they're elected, they don't answer no phone calls. So therefore, once these people are put in the position, are we gonna be able to talk to them and have a phone call to them that represents the personality of the people that we represent? And that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking nobody to be thrown out. I'm asking for some transparency, some information, and to get more information, because I was sitting up here kind of on ignorant to the fact about this, other than that's why I'm here, to make the motion.
Yes, sir. So to answer that question, the way that the contracts and stuff will be awarded to whoever gets it, it is going to be considered on a task order basis. So once we know how much CDBG money, we'll be able to write a task order for them to, do the application and do all of this. Once we know what HUD money and all that. Most of the time, especially with recovery money from CDBG and HUD, there are requirements to our applications to have town hall meetings, or to have those meetings with the communities that we were wanting to represent and build and rebuild. So all of that will be there depending on the type of funding that is available and when it is available and how it's available.
Yes.
Also, when we get any type of money, there will be budget amendments. So all of that will have to come to the council to let you know this is the plan from, administration, or the plan from a task force, or the plan from the community. It will not be the plan of this company. It will be administration, council, and the community.
Yeah, and I'd appreciate that, because we were talking about town halls, and we're getting more information about that. And again, I'm actually trying to serve the people, because when they call me and ask me some questions again, I want to be able to answer them. And then I don't just want to be up here for a person just to read the information in Budget and Finance Committee and don't know diddly squat about it. That's my position also. So, either I'm going to have some information about that or something. That's one of the questions that was asked to me, is the fact that on the Budget and Finance Committee, then what's the information that I have? So I think also going forward, we can actually work this out, and then we can be more informed, and then I can inform my colleagues to go along with it or ask their input. And that's what we're asking for. That's what I'm asking for everybody else to ask for. Thank you again. That's my third time. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Hebert.
Defer after Mr. Michel.
Okay, Mr. Michel.
Thank you. And I have absolutely no issue with the process that went through. But my issue is whether or not we need this consultant at all. Is this not duplicate work for what Ms. Mary Landrew and her group are doing? If not, what's the difference? And most importantly, how much is this going to cost? Those things are not addressed in the backup for the council, much less for the public to see. And that's the problem that I have. It's not who we selected. It's not how we selected them. It's the fact that it lacks the transparency. Councilman Harding made a fact that he didn't know diddly about it. He didn't know diddly because there was diddly in the backup to know. That's my problem with it, and that's why I would like to see it delayed for 30 days so we can learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Dove.
Gerald, first of all, this company, there's no price on it because we don't know how much money they're going to get. So if they come in here and get you $500 million, it doesn't cost you anything, and we get a lot of projects. This is the way it works. We didn't have any costs on these other consultants that we hired. Look, Gerald, I know you don't understand how money works in Baton Rouge and Washington, but this is the way it works. This is the way it works. And to be transparent, that you've used that word a couple times, this is as transparent as it comes. Unless you don't trust Jennifer Jaboski, Maud Black, Candace Mullen, and Sharon Ellis, who did this? They don't have Gordon Dove's name. They don't have Mike Dupes. They don't have. These are the guys that we trust. The gals and guys that we trust. And that's the way they did it. Now, you want to delay, stopping us from going get money, it's fine. But you to ask why do you need them, it absolutely goes to the fact is, go do your homework and you see why we need them. You know, this is the way it's done for these big monies. And Washington is very tough to get money out of, and we're working this very, very good thanks to this lady and other people involved with it. So with that, I told you before, I respect whatever the council does, but if y'all want to stop $500 million from moving forward as quick as humanly possible, you want to wait 30 days, wait 30 days. But that's not, this company here is not going to change. You're going to award it to this company in 30 days or not award it at all, because of the fact is it was done through the federal procurement procedure, which we are very careful, and when I say we, Candace, Mud Black, and what have you, to follow these procedures. There's a lot of other stuff coming after this. This is the 4th consultant we've hired, and all of a sudden there's a problem with this. So we need to move forward this and let my administration, Mary Landrieu, which I think everyone can sit here and say Mary Landrieu knows what she's doing, and these other consultants, and let's move this thing forward and go get money for Terrebonne Parish. That's our job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. Mr. Abear, go ahead and address your thing.
I was going to defer to after Mr. Michel.
Okay. Mr. Michel.
You know, just to talk about the way that the committee was formed, who chose them. 4 people. They all report to the parish president. They're not gonna disagree with the parish president. That's the way things work, okay? And there is no transparency. So, you know, the explanation is ridiculous to say that it's 4 people. I trust the 4 people immensely, but I also trust that they're not going to buck the parish president because they're not allowed to. Thank you.
Mr. Abear.
Well, first of all, you got to understand how the RFP and RFQ quote process works. We use it all the time. That is an executive and an administrative function, and it is run through our departments. This has never come up at the council before, and it's run through our departments. So when we put something out for a quote, it is taken in, it goes out, it is publicly put out. It's on a, what do you call it? National registry. So it's there for everybody to see. Okay, everybody that wants to come in and make a quote can make a quote. The quotes are given deadlines. Okay, why some of the information is not in your package, because it has to remain confidential to a certain point in time. Other than that, it would not be right to release it. So what it is in our procurement manual, okay, and this is done on all of them, and that's why we have to stay consistent. In our procurement manual, they put a team together, led by generally the purchasing managers on there and the department head that's involved with it. Candace is the money lady. That's who y'all go to when you need money. So she's leading this particular task within the executive branch of government. Okay, so this is how it's always done. They get them in and they score them. If the first thing they do is to make sure that they meet all the criteria. Now, if somebody has not complied properly with the criteria, okay, they reject them. If that person believes that they made a substantial error, if they believe there is a process in the procurement manual, it's called a protest. What concerns me is I don't know, because I haven't seen it, is there deadlines in there, and could we be jeopardizing pricing or something on deadlines? And I asked Candace, and she said she wasn't sure. So that if you continue 30 days, we may have a problem if they told them they were going to award it within a certain amount of time. Okay, but to say that this is the way it's always done, there's nothing unusual in this. This is just a typical, this is done all the time. This is how it's always been done. This is an administrative function, and when you put your RFP and your RFQ out, you make sure with the guidelines and what the rules say that you include all that in there. So what my concerns are is you don't award it tonight, right, and there's something in there that says it's got to be awarded in so many days, we could wind up in another problem. There's nothing, like I said, it was uploaded publicly. It was up, so it's not like it wasn't uploaded. It's uploaded for people to bid on. to make a quote on. Okay, and it goes through our we have a manual. It's called a procurement manual. Okay, it's a big thick manual, and it tells you how to vote on these things and how to evaluate them. And they come up with these, and the reason why it's done like this is so if somebody comes and challenge it, it's done on an objective basis. This is what we rely upon. This is our proof. And there is a challenge process. And if somebody thinks that they have not been treated or they made a mistake, there is a process in the manual. So if I'm saying is follow what we normally do is my recommendations to y'all as a legal advisor. If somebody thinks that there was something done wrong, file a protest. It's in the manual how to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert. And generally, I wouldn't say something while I still have a light, but I asked, or Mr. Guidry, if I could say something first. Just from my seat, what I'm hearing are two different issues. First of all, this is just the person that's going to go out and get the money. So Mr. Michel's question to that is, what do they get for their work? If we're signing a contract, there should be something in there. You know, I know a lot of times these contracts will say that they're going to get a percentage of the money they can get. Mr. Dove made a good point because I had the question about Ms. Landrew's firm. She being a lobbyist for us, she's going to work over our congressmen and senators up in Washington, D.C. to make sure that money comes, and we know that she's very good at it. The second issue, which I think Mr. Harding and some of the speakers has to do with once that money comes and wanting to make sure and reassure that the DBEs get a fair shake. As a contractor, I deal with this every day, and we're actually working under a DBE. My company is doing the FEMA trailer park out on Gage Court. So the federal government is very strict about that and making sure that the DBEs get a fair shake. So I see this as two different things that may be muddying up the water a little bit. So I just ask everybody to take a moment and consider that. Ms. Malden, you have an answer on something for me?
I do. So most of these grants that they will help us apply for. So when we say they're going to go get us the money, Mary Landrew and them are the one that are going to lobby to get the money to be allocated. Then it's up to us, once it's allocated, to fill out this massive application that's detailed and it's all kind of requirements and all that. So this group is the one that's going to help us do the application to then receive the money that has been allocated towards us. Usually most of these have administrative fees built into them. Okay. So when we say that they're not going to get paid or it's not going to be a cost to us, it's because it's going to be a flow through this grant.
So they're going to get it straight out of the grant.
Correct.
It's just a flow through. Man, it sucks getting old.
I messed you up.
That question jumped right out of my head. This company is not going to do any of the soliciting of the contracts for work.
No,
they're
sir.
just helping you guys with all that abundance of paperwork
Correct.
that the federal government likes to do.
Correct.
I tell people all the time, if you think we're slow at the parish, go higher up. The state's got its rules, and the federal government has theirs, and they get real cumbersome. And
right. So they're going to help us when it gets to the point, if it's, let's just go back to the housing. If we're going to build a low-income housing complex or something, they're going to be the ones that help us to get the money. Then they'll be the ones that helps us to determine that the contractors are set in place, how the federal government guidelines are. They'll help us go through all of that. They'll help us submit all of the reports. So it's just
to make sure that
part
we
of
don't
it.
miss a dotted I or a crossed T.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I understand that. Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yes, and it seems like, of course, we get our agendas on Fridays for the money meetings. It seems like there's just a desire among some of my fellow colleagues just to have a few extra days to kind of just look at it and just do some due diligence just to make sure that everybody's comfortable. I mean, in all essence, I've heard some things about this company. It's a great company that we're getting. They've done some great things for Lafayette, I understand. And, I have no problem with the company, but then I'd have no problem giving my colleagues a couple extra days. 30 days may be a little stretching it because of some of the issues, you know, in a timely basis. But, you know, maybe, you know, if we go back to 2 weeks, maybe that might be a fair medium, give it a couple extra days. 30 days may be a bit much. I don't know if Mr. Navy wants to go back to the 2 weeks, but just a suggestion.
So looking at the calendar and committee meetings, we actually have 2 weeks in between the next two committee meetings. So this would actually be 3 weeks that it's pushed back. You know, we are absolutely able to share any information that anybody questions or asks at any point in time. So however we need to do that, we can. But I just would urge, you know, let's try to get this done as quick as possible. I don't want to be the one that sits on the back corner and says we didn't get it done and now we don't have the money and this is why. And, you know, when we're trying to do it as quick as possible and in the right way.
So you thinking that 3 weeks could, you know, is a big issue in the scheme, in your timings?
It could be pretty close. I don't remember, I don't have the RFQ. You know, in the weeks of council meetings, we scored it a week ago. It's now here. I mean, if it's 3 weeks from now, if it would be 2 weeks, I wouldn't have a concern. But I think that third week might put us in an issue with the 30 days and when we have to award it and all. But we'll do what we need to do.
And I understand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so, Mr. Navy, are we going with your latest substitute motion of 30 days?
Yes, I mean, if we don't have the time, Candace, we need to make sure, though, you don't have no,
Turn his mic on.
you don't actually have to know the process of what the time frame is you're saying?
We have, usually in the proposals, there is a amount of time of when the notice, or when we have to award it. That's where the question is coming in, and usually that is 30 days. I'm trying to pull it up. I don't remember off the top of my head, based on everything we've been going through over the past couple of weeks, if that was in this RFQ. I'm gonna probably tell you that's in most of ours. I would assume that it's probably in this one as well. And just the timing of when they submitted, when we were able to meet to score them, and when your next meeting is, it might meet that past that 30-day period. Okay. That's my concern.
We're gonna give her a moment while Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah, give her a moment so she can find it.
I do want to point out that we're not really making this decision tonight. This is a committee meeting, and it does not actually become official until 2 days from now at the council meeting when we ratify it. So if we approve this, that does give us 48 hours to do some due diligence. And then on Wednesday, if we have a problem, we can pull that out separately and discuss it. That's just an option to give, you know, you do have a couple extra days because tonight is a committee meeting, just saying. Thanks.
Mr. Michaud.
Yeah, that is a very good point, but that point works both ways. We could also vote to delay it for 3 weeks, and then in 2 days, if we need to, we can reverse that at the council meeting, couldn't we?
That's what he's saying.
No, he was saying the other way. He was saying that we could, so I mean, that would be my suggestion.
Ms. Malden?
I don't see it where I can pull it up, but I can, first thing tomorrow morning, let you know if it's like when the 30 days will end. And if legal is okay with doing that for the committee meeting, the council meeting on Wednesday for the minutes from tonight, we'll have that information as to if we can wait the 3 weeks or if the decision needs to be made. I'll have that information to y'all tomorrow morning.
Mr. Navy, back to you.
So you're saying that we would go ahead and put it back, and we could pull it now and then give it 48 hours? To put it on
That,
Wednesday?
that's up to you. It's
I'm
your,
fine with that. I'm fine with
your
that.
motion, so.
'Cause I wanna make sure
You want to
that-
withdraw your
Yes,
your
I'm withdrawing.
motion, Mr. Harding? You withdraw your second, and then we'll look at it again
On Wednesday.
Wednesday, giving time for your question. And for the guys that have, the members that have questions for Ms. Candace, please tonight send her an email or something with specifics on what those questions are so she can get that to you. So that way, Wednesday night, we can make a final determination if those answers satisfies. Good for you. Okay, so we'll go back to the original motion by Mr. Trustclair. It was seconded by Ms. Domingue. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I relinquish the chair back to the chairman, Mr. Harding.
Yeah, item number 4, resolution authorizing the parish president to execute a surface lease number 1994 for an additional 10 years from May 1st, 2021 through May 1st, 2023, and to address other matters relative thereto. Moved by Mr. Almady, second by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor? Item number 5, resolution authorizing the parish president to execute a corporate endeavor agreement with South Central Planning and Development Commission to accept donated items purchased through the 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program for the Homo Police Department. Moved by Mr. Gerald Michelle, second by Mr. Danny Babin. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Sorry about this, guys. Item number 7, introducing the ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operation budget and 5-year capital outlay budget. Ms. 6. Okay. Resolution authorizing the parish president to execute a corporate endeavor agreement for South Central Planning and Development Commission accepting donations, donated items purchased through the 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program from Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. Moved by Mr. Gerald Michelle, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Now number 7. I feel like Mr. Amady, I'm getting over too. Introducing the ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operational budget, 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for a relative matter. First, a Louisiana Highway Safety Commission grant award, $81,585. Homo Police Department's LCLE grant, $101,250. Homo Police Department LCLE grant, $22,169. General Fund Council meeting room, $145,000. Hazard Mitigation Plan, $86,921. A Fema evaluation program, $1,496,545. Bayou Sports Complex, $500,000 and call for a public hearing on said matters on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion adjourned, Mr. Babin, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Anyone opposed?
Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishes to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words and actions. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of this meeting. I'd like to call the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee to order, and we will have the invocation and the pledge by Mr. Darren Guidry.
Heavenly Father, whom we live, move, and have our being, we ask that you be with us this evening as we deliberate the matters before us. May you also pray for the people in the world suffering from war and famine. Please be with them as well. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we please get a roll call, Mr. Hanson?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Trosclair? Here. Mr. Navy? Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Michel? Mr. Amade?
Here.
Mr. Domingue?
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Babin? Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Here.
Madam Chairwoman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you. Item 1, consider the co-sponsorship request for the Cajun French Music Association Bayou Chapter one-day festival to be held June 11th, 2022 from 10:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. at the Houma Municipal Auditorium. So moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 2, consider a co-sponsorship request for the Affiliated Blind of Louisiana Bayou Region Chapter for the Bayou Region Chapter's Independence Celebration to be held on June 3rd, 2022 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Municipal Auditorium. So moved by Mr. Gerald Michel. I'm sorry, Mr. Mr. Danny Babin. Second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 3, consider the co-sponsorship request for the Terrebonne Parish NAACP Youth Council for the annual Juneteenth celebration to be held on June 19th, 2022 from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Dumas Auditorium. Moved by Mr. Carl Harding, second by Mr. John Navy. All in favor?
Aye.
We have one light, Mr. Navy.
Yes, I wanted to recognize Ms. Diane Collins. She's here. You want to come up and speak about the situation? You okay? Or what? You sure? You sure? All right. I just want to make sure. All right. Okay.
And thank you so much, Miss Diane. Actually, this year at the office where I work is the first year that we actually are being given a paid holiday for Juneteenth. So that's very exciting. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4, a resolution accepting the recommendation of Administration of and Risk Management Department to accept the estimated amount for team sports premiums effective for 2022. Moved by Mr. Amade, second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, resolution accepting the recommendation of Administration and the Risk Management Department to accept the schedule of casualty insurance premiums for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Houma Fire Department effective April 1st, 2022 through April 1st, 2023. That's a move by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, resolution accepting the recommendation of Administration and the Risk Management Department to accept the attached schedule of casualty insurance premiums effective for April 1st, 2022 through April 1st, 2023. So moved Mr. Trosclair, second by Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 7, introduce an ordinance authorizing the parish president to execute a renewal of the right of use agreement between Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and Harold Cleveland Sr. for the property that bears a municipal address of 408 Country Estates, Houma, Louisiana 70364, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Moved by Mr. Amade, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8, a presentation on proposed changes to Personnel Policy Manual. Ms. Malden?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Domingue. And we have a PowerPoint slide for you, if Ms. Tammy can get that started. We have completely updated our Personnel Policy Manual. The hope was to serve the needs of our employees as well as Terrebonne Parish. We would like to make sure we can retain our dedicated employees as well as attract new employees. We want our current employees to have a healthy work-life balance, and we want to be able to recruit as many new employees as possible. We all know how the workforce is currently, so just to kind of put it into perspective, this year for March 2022, we have 80 vacancy announcements. In 2021, that number was 44. Wow. In 2020, it was 50. And in 2019, it was 51. So it's a significant open of vacancies. Another thing that's kind of interesting is we have a history of not keeping employees beyond 5 years. Since 2000, the employees that we have lost, 71% of them have left before year 5 or year 5 and below. So the purpose of this policy and the proposed changes is to keep those employees after year 5, those that are here after year 10, keep them longer, and to attract those employees. I can never get this to work. No.
Can I ask you a question real fast?
Yes, sir.
Why are these employees leaving? Is it because they're making better money out in the community?
So I believe some of it is they are making better money. Some of it is the benefits. So all of that is what we're looking at. So tonight we're proposing these changed benefits through the personnel policy, and we're looking at the pay scale as well to help retain and attract some of those employees as well.
Because if they're leaving, they're leaving for a reason, and we need to find out. And,
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure the main reason that I hear the scuttlebutt from all the employees is pay.
Yes, sir.
And for us to compete, we're going to have to go up on these people's pay raises, these monies, because the deal is when we come out here and David and all, they got to train a grade all operator. Mm-hmm. It costs money to train that grade all operator. And by the time we train him, he's going somewhere else, you know. So we need to do something, any kind of way to get these parish employees more money. So if we can't do that, they're going somewhere else, and we're going to have this problem forever. I mean, we got good insurances and they got a good retirement, but it comes down to how much bacon I'm bringing home to mama. You know what I mean? So
yes, sir. So this proposed personnel policy changes is the first step in what we are hoping to do to keep those employees.
But you know, in the 4-year or 10-year policy, whatever, it's pay. Mm-hmm. It all goes down to pay. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you. So Parish President had put together the committee to go through this personnel policy. So you'll see him up here, who was all included. We met for several months, and we went in detail through the current policy that we have in place. We discussed what the pros and cons were. We had several discussions about pay, and we are hoping that this will be a good policy. We also did a survey of the employees through our Team TPCG portal to kind of get some feedback from them, so we'll talk about that tonight. After we created the new policy, we had our Assistant Parish Attorney, Michelle Neal, review it before we presented it to you tonight. So we've had some of those legal questions already answered, and the whole committee was committed to really simplify the policy. I don't know if any of y'all have ever looked at our current policy. We really wanted to simplify it. We wanted to make it user-friendly for employees, and we wanted it to benefit the employees as well. So the first thing is holidays. So we just mentioned one of these. So currently, our parish employees receive 11 paid holidays. We are proposing adding 3 additional holidays for every year and 1 every 4 years. So we're going to add President's Day, Juneteenth, National Independence Day, Veterans Day, and then as well as every 4 years when it is a presidential election, we'll have Election Day off. The next thing that we looked at was our annual leave. So currently, employees earn 96 hours or 12 days from year 1 to 10. Starting year 11, they start earning 136 hours or 17 days. So between 0 and 10, there is nothing. The survey we asked the employees was how often should annual leave rates increase? We had a total of 266 responses, and you'll see here 228 believed that it should be increased every 5 years. So the committee looked at this, and we decided, to kind of address that. So we are going to replace the term annual leave with personal leave. It is going to reflect what this leave is supposed to be used for. It is going to help us with the implementation of this new policy. And every 5 years, you're going to accrue an additional 3 days. So that's the makeup here. So from 0 to 5, it'll still be 96. 6 to 10, it'll be additional 3 days, and so forth. The next thing that we have in our current policy, our sick leave is only allowed to be used for the employee themselves if they are sick. It cannot be used for a child, it cannot be used for a spouse, and it can't be used for a mom or a dad. So we ask the employees, again, you'll see the response here, it is very highly on self and immediate family. So we are going to propose that our sick leave can be used for an employee and their immediate family as defined. The other thing that we have is we are going to have a maximum accrual of sick leave of 480 hours. We do not have a maximum set up in our policy right now. The purpose of doing a maximum is to lower our liability, especially when an employee retires. When they hit that retirement plan, we have to pay an expense because we don't have a maximum set. So we have to pay the difference between what the state's maximum is and what that employee's sick leave hours are. So we're going to reduce that liability. No employees will lose any of their sick time that they have accrued. They just won't accrue any more. So the next one is our parental leave. We actually have no type of maternity or parental leave in our current policy. And you'll see one of the comments, and this was several of the comments from our employees, you should not have to go on disability to have a baby, and we should have something for the father. So the way that it's set up right now is the mother has to use all of their sick leave, and then they have to go on short-term disability. So we're almost costing them to have a baby. So what we are proposing is to do a parental leave, and the parental leave is going to be available for births, adoptions, as well as long-term foster, and it is going to be available for primary parent and secondary parent. So the primary parent will have a 10 weeks paid leave, and the secondary parent will have 2 weeks paid leave. The other big change in the policy is how we compensate our salaried employees during emergency events. So currently, our salaried employees do not earn any compensation for any work that they do during an emergency. All that they receive is additional annual leave hours. So for every 8 hours that they work, they get an additional annual leave. And the problem with that is they could be sitting at a table with a volunteer who is an hourly employee who is getting paid either time and a half or double time, depending on if they're in overtime or not. So we really need to encourage employees to help volunteer during emergency events. So what we are proposing here is the first 8 hours that this employee works, they're going to get an hour of leave for every hour they worked. We all know during an emergency, our days do not end at 8 hours. So the second 8 hours, depending on if you make below $65,000 or greater than $65,000, you'll be compensated at time and a half or at straight time. And that breakup there between the $65,000 was those, we looked at who would fit above and below, and those that are above that, we consider those employees that work in emergency events are part of their job description, and those below that would be the ones that are actually just volunteering. So we're going to compensate them for that volunteering. Yes, sir.
Mr. Misha?
Yeah, so is that like for, if we have an emergency event and you go in on a weekday and you're working the 8 hours you'd normally be working here, is that what this is including, or is it after that, is it beyond the normal time they would ordinarily be working?
So if it is a emergency declared time, so if it is where some employees are told it's emergency, go home, we don't need you, and you are coming to work the emergency, is when you get compensated. It has to be a declared emergency, a start and a finish.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Our next part of the policy was our seniority pay. So currently, our employees earn a seniority pay of 1 penny per hour per year. So when you work here for 10 years, you earn 10 cents. So we surveyed the employees, and of course you'll see here, 198 of them believe that they need more. Only 8 of them say that the 1 penny per hour per year is fair to parish and employees. So we looked at this and we went through and we have determined that it is fair for us to actually increase those increments. So 1 through 10, we're not going to change, but when you hit your 11th year, you'll start earning an additional nickel for every hour for every year. And then 21 and beyond, it'll be an additional 10 cents per hour per year. So if we go to the next slide, it'll kind of show you here. So if you're at year 10, you're going to get an extra 10 cents per hour. If you're at year 11, it's going to be 15 cents. And the old policy, that 15 cents would only be 11 cents. Year 1955, where the old policy, it is only 19 cents. And year 26, it is now $1.20, where previously it would be 26 cents. So you'll see some of the comments here. That one at the end, I think all employees should be awarded some kind of way for staying and being loyal. And it says a penny every year on your anniversary is pretty much nothing. So we want to keep these employees. If we can't necessarily give them pay raises because of the pay scale, the seniority pay doesn't go against that pay raise. So this is another way of allowing us to compensate them for their loyalty and for their years and to hopefully keep them here through that time.
So, Ms. Molden, we have a question, Mr. Harding.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I stopped being a transit bus driver. You know what I mean? We're getting to, had to work there a certain amount of years. And I really personally thought, and this is kind of on a low end, you know what I mean? And Dirk asked the question, so why are they leaving? Because, if the top pay was $15 an hour and you're starting off at 12, and there's no room, it used to take 150 years to get to.
You're right.
So, that is unfair.
And I don't want you driving a bus at 150 years old.
No, it wasn't a bad job. But believe it or not, that was one of the reasons why me personally, I did leave Terrebonne Parish because, we only had two people above me. So therefore, all I can do is drive bus in the penny an hour. If you do the math, 40 hours, that's 40 cents.
Right.
For every 2 weeks, you get a penny an hour, that's $1.60. And insurance go up higher than that every year. So, this is something I appreciate the efforts that you made, me personally. I don't know what anybody else has said because I've still been in that position. I think it should be a little bit more than that, and that's why we're losing people. Thank you.
Thank you.
No?
So some additional changes that are good to note. We're proposing to change the probationary period from 90 to 180 days. The employee will still get their group insurance at day 91. The 180 days just allows us a longer period to evaluate them. We've had several times where the 90 days is extended to 180, so it just seemed reasonable to go ahead and extend it to that 180 days. Compensatory time, right now, for our non-civil service employees, this change will not affect the civil service employees. We are going to reduce the maximum hours that they can carry to 60. Right now it's at 240. The purpose of this is we need to reduce that liability because when those individuals leave, we have to pay them. The other reason is if we really need them to be working this time, they either need to be paid overtime or we may need to consider bringing somebody else in because maybe it's too much work for them. So this will help us kind of navigate some of that. It'll hold some supervisors accountable if they have to start paying employees for overtime that maybe they're not necessarily needed for that extra 30 minutes a day and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is to decrease that liability. Again, what they have on the books, they will not lose. It's just as we earn it, we can't earn more than that 60. Training and certification, 100% of this cost will be covered by Terrebonne Parish. And then we are proposing to add merit awards. So these merit awards are going to be available for full-time permanent employees. We're going to reward them for good jobs to the community, for going out and getting maybe a certificate that is a benefit to the parish government, that's not a job requirement. There is a chart that'll show the merit awards and the achievements that they can get. And these are going to range from $50 per occasion to $2,000 per occasion. An example of this is somebody who can speak a second language. If we use them very often, they'll get a higher dollar amount. If we use them occasionally, per occasion, they'll get the $50. So we're just awarding another way to award our current employees to show them that we really do appreciate the work that they do for parish government as well as the citizens of parish, and benefit them. So that is really high brief of the changes. That's really the main changes. There are other changes within all of the different policies. It's a lot of just language. We cleaned up a lot. There was stuff in there that didn't need to be in there. There was stuff that maybe were procedurals and not policy. So all of that has been adjusted. All of us that are on the committee are available for any questions that you may have. The next item on the agenda is to actually introduce the ordinance to adopt it at the April 13th meeting. So on April 13th, there will be the public hearing, and it'll actually be adopted. So anytime between then, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact any of the committee members. If it is approved in April 13th, the new policy will be in effect come May 1st.
Do any of the councilmen have any questions? Seeing no questions. Ms. Molden, I appreciate all the work that you guys put into this. As a woman, I see this being very female friendly. It seems to incentivize women in the workplace. And, if anything, the past 2 years has taught us is that every runny nose, you go home for 2 days with a kid at home. And so, having this extra buffer actually seems to help. And so I appreciate it in a different manner that, my fellow councilman would appreciate it. So thank you very much. Item 9, introduce an ordinance to adopt the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Personnel Policy Manual and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, April 13th. Moved by Mr. Michel, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Second.
Motion adjourned, Mr. Carl Harding, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?